Alright, I'm going to do in this video the full story of how I became the crazy cat man I currently am, and all the stories of how my 8 rescue cats came to me. Now I know I've done this before and some of you already know this, but I've got a lot of new followers, and the last one I did was like at the very start of this YouTube channel and it's buried deep somewhere. So I thought I'd just do a new one. So, it was 1992 and I was born. No jokes. So pretty much I grew up fairly normal kid, fairly rural country town, had pets growing up, dogs, cats, fish, all that. Loved them, loved animals, all the normal stuff. Sorry, Oscar. And then when I was 20, I decided to join the army and go see Australia. So I joined the army and I was in the army for 9 years. Lived all over Australia, worked all over Australia, went overseas a couple of times. And then, if you know anything about the army, when you're in, you move states every 3 years or bases every 3 years. You go away for months at a time, and I was a single bloke, so it wasn't fair to have any pets while I was in the army because I was just too nomadic in my lifestyle. And then 2022, I ended up getting injured, my back and my shoulder, quite badly, and as a result, I got medically discharged from the army. So I was out, and then I ended up moving back down to or close to the country town that I grew up in. And 2023, I moved into this place, got a full-time job, and I decided, you know what, I want an animal companion. So my friend was over for the weekend, and we decided to go for a walk and get a coffee, and we walked past an animal shelter, and we're like, oh, let's go in. Let's go have a look. At that time, I was dead set on getting a dog. I was going to get a little dog, train him up, have a nice little dog companion. So I walk into the shelter, and at the front of the shelter is all the cat cages, and the dogs were out the back in kennels. So I'm walking through, and I'm like, oh, I'll just have a look at the cats, cute kittens. And then I see a cage with this stunning specimen, Mr. Fluffy, in it. And with him was a 16-year-old blind ginger cat named Tig, who's since passed on. And I took one look at him, and I looked at Tig, and I went, fuck, he is blind. And he was fully blind. So I asked the staff, oh, what's their story? And the story was they were a bonded pair, so they couldn't be separated. The little old lady that owned them had unfortunately passed away, and no one could take him in, so they've been in the shelter for 8 months. So I went, oh, well, you know what? Fuck that. I'll take him. And he's like, seriously? And I'm like, yep. And I'm like, give me an hour. I'll go get my car. I'll run to Kmart, get what I need, and I'll be back. So I went straight to Kmart, grabbed food, water bowls, litter, cat bed, some toys, and a cat carrier. And I was back at the shelter. Ended up getting them both for $50. 2 for 1 deal because they'd been in there for so long. And I took them home. And I had 2 cats. And we were doing really great. And 2 cats was enough for me, and I'm like, great, I got 2 senior boys, they just want to lie in the sun all day. Tig was blind, but he learned how to get around the house instantly. He was get up on couches, get up on beds. He was fine. And then I did all the transfer paperwork, and then for some reason Fluffy's microchip was registered in New South Wales. I'm in Victoria. So it was taking us a little bit of time to get it sorted. And since the shelter was on my way home from work, I just drop in like once a week just to talk to him, see if there's any updates on when I could get his paperwork sorted, and all that. And then after about 3 months of having Fluffy and Tig, I walked in and they're like, oh, it's sorted. And obviously I'd gotten quite friendly with the guy behind the counter by this point. And he's like, I want to show you a kitten. And in another cage was a little 5-month-old Romeo. And he's like, Romeo's name was Cupid before I renamed him. He's 5 months old. He's been adopted out and returned twice. The shelter was a bit dodgy and they undersold me. He's like, oh, he's just got a little neurological condition, just a little bit of the shakes. He's fine. But the 2 homes he went to, he didn't cope and they brought him back. I'm like, and they're like, well, look, you took the blind cat, you take special needs cats. Can you like give him a trial? We'll give him to you for 2 weeks and then you can adopt him if he works. And I'm like, all right, I'll take him. So, took Romeo home. Best decision of my life. The first day I knew I wasn't returning him. But there was a problem. I had a 5-month-old kitten, who I now know has cerebellum hyperplasia, but he's still a kitten. And the other cats in my house were an 11-year-old at the time, Fluffy, and a 16-year-old blind Tig. And Romeo just wanted to play, and they just wanted to sit in the window and sleep all day, and Fluffy and Romeo were having issues. Now, I could have returned Romeo, but I decided I did not want to do that. So I went, next best plan, get a fourth cat. Get a cat younger to his age that he can play with and bond with, and then he'll leave Fluffy and Tig alone. So I went back to the same shelter, and they're like, well, this is Lettuce. Lettuce was 1.5 years old when I got her. She had been surrendered to the shelter when she was 7 months old and pregnant, and then all her kittens had been adopted out, and she'd been left because she hates kids. Like, full hisses anytime a child comes. I don't know what the age range is. She hissed to my 8-year-old nephew, so it's like big kids as well. And my thought was, okay, she's a little girl. She's just had her kittens. They've been gone. She's still got maternal instincts. He's still only like a 6-month-old kitten himself. Maybe if I bring her in, she'll bond with him, play with him, and then leave Fluffy alone. And it fucking worked. Like, it actually worked way better than I ever expected. First time I introduced him, she just held his head down and cleaned his face. She's like, you're mine now. And they've bonded now. And they've been best friends ever since. Where you going, Romeo? You going walkies? You can go walkies. Good job, darling. And we were happy. 4-cat household, happy for a long time. Or another 3 months. And then, unfortunately, Tig, who would have been 17 at the time, unexpectedly passed away. So I buried Tig, and again, my fault. I went back to the shelter just to let them know, because they were heavily invested in Tig, because he'd been there for so long. And I just wanted to let them know that he passed away. And this was about a week after he'd passed. And I got done again. And they're like, look, while you're here, I want to introduce you to Biscuit. So this is Pudding. His name before was Biscuit, and they told me he was a little girl. He is not a girl, he has a penis. He was 2.5 years old, and I don't know much about his background before he came to the shelter, but it wasn't nice. He was very scared, very fearful. To this day, I'm still the only person who's ever touched him since the day I brought him home. He hates people. I think he was potentially abused in his past life. So I brought Pudding home, which was a lot harder than all my other cats, because he was under the bed for about 3-4 days before I could even touch him. Took me about a month to earn his trust. And then he was very shy, sort of in the shadows cat, and we sort of were living together for 6 months, but then he built his confidence up. So then he actually really only introduced himself to my other cats after about 6 months, and then we had to do a whole new cat all again. But now it's 2.5 years later, him and Fluffy are best friends, and he's a confident little boy, except he doesn't like anyone else but me. So I'm cool with that. And then that was it. That was it for 2 years. 4-cat household, Romeo, Lettuce, Fluffy, Pudding. And we were living a happy life. Until I was at work one day, and one of the girls I work with was like, oh, her mother-in-law, a feral cat, had gotten into a carport, had kittens, she was putting food out for them, and then the feral mum had taken 2 kittens and run away and left 3 kittens in the carport. She didn't know what to do. She was putting food out. She didn't know how. She said they were about 6-7 weeks old, and she, was just trying to find people to take them, pretty much. And I'm like, look, I'll come look at one. I'll just come look at one kitten, just one kitten. One kitten doesn't hurt. So I went there, and then the moment I stepped in, they were we estimated about 7 weeks old, but they were all malnourished and underweight. We weighed them, all 3 of them, when I got them home. They were 300 grams. They had, all their eyes were goopy and almost fully closed. They had lice all over them. They were 3 very, very sick kittens. So I just told her, I'm like, look, I'll take all 3 now. I'll get them into a vet tomorrow. I'll sort them out and I'll get them rehomed. And she's like, thank you so much, take them. So that night I took home 3 kittens, so Poseidon and his brother and sister, who I named Hades and Zeus, who have now been renamed in their new homes. And then, yeah, I had ended up ringing around and had to drive 45 minutes the next morning, first thing, to get them into a vet. I got them into a vet, got them on antibiotics, got them deloused, got them dewormed, and then I pretty much fed them up and brought them back to health over the next month. And I just bonded with Poseidon. He was the sickest little one as well, and he just wouldn't leave me alone, and I'm just like, I can't. You have to stay now. And then his sister went to a good friend of mine, and his brother went to my sister. I'm like, okay, we're a 5-cat household. 5 cats is enough. It's fine, we're done. No more cats, because Fluffy doesn't like when I keep bringing new cats home, do you, Fluffy? Then Romeo got real sick, to the point that he stayed in the vet for like 7 days on a drip, and over like a 6-week period, we were going to the vet multiple times a week. Very, very sick. But what happened was I got very, very familiar with the vet, talked to them about my other cats, how they've come to me, they knew my story, all that. And when Romeo got better, I got a call. Oh no, I went in for a checkup with him one day just to check, and they're like, oh, we want to show you something. And then the receptionist has gone back and she's come back with 4 tiny kittens in her arms. And pretty much their story was that they'd been dumped on the side of the road, picked up, dropped off at the vet by someone. The vet's like, oh, we'll call the council. Council said, all our shelters are full. Either put them down or look after them yourself. So they're like, well, we're not going to put these 4 healthy kittens down. So we'll raise them until they're old enough to be desexed, and then we'll rehome them themselves. And I was just talking, like, well, look, you know what, I've done 1 litter of kittens now. George, I'm talking about you. Where are you, darling? I can foster them for a little bit if you want. So I ended up fostering George and his 3 siblings for, I think it was about 3 weeks, 4 weeks in total. They were with me for a week and a bit, and then they went to someone else at the vet, and then they came back to me. And they're like, oh, do you want one? I'm like, no. I've got enough cats. No more cats, thank you. I'm all good. And then the second time I fostered them, they're like, well, all of them have homes except for George. So I'm like, okay. That's all right. Oh, yeah, 6 kittens. I'm a 6-cat man. That's it, we're done. And then a week after I got George, another friend at work, he's like, hey, I was just over at a friend of a friend's house, and I met this guy, Oscar. Oscar was 10 years old at the time. He's about 11 and a half now. And he'd been over at this friend of a friend's house just having drinks, and he casually mentioned that they were going to have Oscar put down in 2 days. So apparently Oscar had been this guy's sister's cat for 9 years, and then the sister had a baby, and Oscar took a swipe at the baby. You know, don't shove your fucking newborn baby in a cat's face, but that's fine. So then she convinced the brother to take the cat. The brother was not an animal man, didn't like cats, and they just didn't get along. Oscar would apparently swipe at his head while he slept, and it just wasn't working for them. So they'd gone to a vet, and the vet said, hey, look, he's old, he's stressed out. He was so stressed out from the first move. If you try and rehome him again, it will probably just stress him to death. We'll just put him down. So my mate heard that story, and he instantly called me, and he's like, hey, can you take a cat? Because they're going to put this perfectly healthy 10-year-old cat down for no apparent fucking reason, and I can't take him. And I'm like, look, I just got my 6th cat. I've got 6 cats now. I don't really have the room, but fuck it, I'll take them. So the next day, I went over with a cat carrier, and I picked up Oscar. And Oscar was very much like Pudding, very shy, very reserved. Never lived with cats before in his life. And it's been a long, long year with Oscar, getting up to a point where he's living his best life. This is his room, by the way. He likes to chill out in here. He still doesn't get along with most of the cats, but he gets along with the kittens, and he can eat with them and walk by them without having fights. And like, we're living. Not the best solution for him, but it was better than death. And he's getting there. We're warming up massively. So we're like, okay, 7 cat man, we're done. Oh, hey, Romeo, you followed me. We're done. No more cats. It was like that for 6-7 months. And I got another phone call from a friend of a friend. I hadn't stepped into a shelter since pudding. That there was a barn cat situation. They had a bunch of kittens. Some had already been given away. There was one left. He was the runt, a little bit small. Can you just take him, get him desexed, and then rehome him? Because otherwise, it's just going to go intact to someone who, and then keep having kittens. I'm like, look, yep. There's too many barn cats and half feral cats around this area. I'll take him. I'll get him desexed. And then I'll send him on his way. So meet Damocles, number 8. He came to this house and he never left. And it was at this point where I knew that fostering kittens is not for me. I get too attached too quickly, and he was the only kitten that I took from his litter, so I was doomed from the start. So Damocles is the newest addition, and we're at 8 cats, and we're at capacity for this size house now. But yeah, that is how I got all 8 of my cats. Hey, darling boy. Love you. Love you, Poseidon. If you watched this long, thank you very much.